All right, guys, so with all that down and out of the way, now it's time to jump in and take a little bit of movie news.
What?
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 All right, you guys, our first bit of movie news is coming to us from Variety, and I'm pretty excited. In previous videos, previous episodes, I've talked about how excited I am for this particular show to come out, but there's a little bit more news. The TV show Animaniacs is returning. I know this may be new news for some of you watching. It may not be new news for some of you watching. We've known that Animaniacs is coming back. In fact, a couple of weeks ago they dropped kind of an announcement trailer, a bit of a teaser trailer, where they parodied Jurassic Park, and it was just mwah. It was perfection, absolute perfection. Well, now today we find out that, yes, not only are the Animaniacs coming back on Hulu, streaming, I believe, on November 20th. I believe some of the episodes will be, they will begin streaming on November 20th, and they will, carry on and through the next year. I hope so. But in today's news, we're learning from Variety, they're not just bringing back the original musical composers from the original Animaniacs that ran from 93 to 98. They're bringing back an entire orchestra. I don't know if it's going to be the same orchestra people that, play the instruments, but they are having a full 30 to 40 piece orchestra just to score this show. This is nearly unheard of nowadays. The only other television show that I know that does the same thing for an animated series is Family Guy. One of the great things about Family Guy is that, they have, it has like a really great musical score behind it, but it's also like a live orchestra. And when you have a live orchestra playing this music, it infuses just a little bit more to the project that you're working on. I know a lot of filmmakers have the same idea about digital film versus analog film, like film, the actual film that they used to film movies and television shows on. There's something about like actual film. It has a little bit more graininess to it. It has a little bit more tangibility to it. And when you film on actual film, you get not a completely different experience, but you do get a different viewing experience than you would, or than you normally do through the digital medium. And, digital is so much easier. It's so much more accessible these days. And, I understand the appeal. I mean, for heaven's sakes, we're doing this live stream show on digital technology, so digital technology really helps to widen your base, and it gives more people more opportunities, which those are all good things. Those are all great things. But there is something about like the film, or even in this case, in this scenario, having a live orchestra play the music to score the show, which is a brilliant move. It's definitely not cost effective. If you're trying to be cost effective, you would do what all other television shows do. You hire one composer, and they write everything out on a synthesizer, and it's all played out for you right then and there. And they composite the whole thing and layer everything, and do everything that a composer does. But I love that they're bringing back the original orchestral team to write music for an entire orchestra and actually have it played for a 30 to 40 piece orchestra. We're talking violins, we're talking trumpets, we're talking trombones, we're talking tubas, we're talking basses, we're talking timpanis, we're talking drums, we're talking chimes, we're talking xylophones. It runs the gamut. The French horn, piccolos, clarinets, bassoons, the oboe, right? When you have a live person playing the music and it's all coming together at once, it does. I'm sorry, but it does have a better feel to it. And it looks like Hulu is willing to spend the money on it if they didn't want this to be part of the creative process, because this is much more expensive than hiring one person to do one job, or rather hiring one person to do 40 people's jobs, right? This is much more expensive. And this shows to me, like, these are the implications that I'm thinking of here. This shows to me that Hulu and Disney, they're doubling down on this. Like, they know what they have. They know how special this is. And if it wasn't as good as they thought it might be, they're not going to put more money into this to making it the best that they can make it, right? And it's not just Hulu, it's not just Disney that is behind this, which it's, first of all, let me tangent for a second. It's curious to me because the Animaniacs is a Warner Brothers property. So why is this not going to HBO Max? That is curious to me. I will, let me see if I can do a little bit of research. Maybe I'll make this a topic tomorrow. I'm not entirely sure why a Warner Brothers property is going to Hulu, which is owned, by Disney. Mostly. Anyway, but we are going to talk about other animated films that are coming out on HBO Max later in the show. But yeah, that's one of the things that's curious to me. The other thing about this is it's not just Hulu that's saying, we believe in this, we want to make this the best that we can make it. Steven Spielberg is executive producing this show. And it was his decision to, not just his decision, he was kind of like forcing the agenda, because he could just executive produce and just slap his name on it and be like, okay, yeah, you go off and create whatever it is you're going to create. He is being very hands-on. This article reports Steven Spielberg is being very hands-on with this process. And he was one of the major contributing factors to saying, no, we need a live orchestra here. Yeah, we could do it with synthesizers, the way it's been done for eons now. But he wanted, specifically Steven Spielberg wanted a live orchestra to play the score to the new Animaniacs show, which again, Hulu believes in it, Disney believes in it, Steven Spielberg believes in it. It all kind of goes back to that early Looney Tunes mentality. If you're not familiar with like the early Chuck Jones or the early Fritz Freeling cartoons, or even long before those guys started coming around, when Looney Tunes was in its early conceptions, and I'm not familiar, or I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with like the history of Looney Tunes, but when they first started writing the comedy into the Looney Tunes cartoons, the sound effects that they wanted to put in there, like the Foley artist. A Foley artist is just someone who creates sound effects, right? If you have somebody walking on the floor, you need tap, 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 so you can get the sound of them walking on the floor. Sometimes the microphones that they use on set don't pick up some of these rich sounds, so they need to enhance the sounds, right? So especially in cartoons, you're animating, so you don't have sounds of somebody walking on the floor. So you need to create those sounds. And as they were creating some of these sounds, maybe like rocks smashing into each other, maybe like footsteps on the ground, maybe, Elmer Fudd shooting his gun or whatever, there are certain sounds that comedically just don't work, especially in that medium. So I can't remember the name of the person, but they had this idea of, what if we punctuate all of these things with music? And that way we don't have to hire it wasn't just about being cost effective. It was about making the comedy work, right? And, when you have Bugs Bunny tiptoeing, it's not tiptoe, 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 tiptoe. It's the musical notes of right? And we've all seen this, whether it was in the forefront of your mind or in the back of your mind. This is something that it has been kind of ingrained into our social subconscious, that, we hear a xylophone going, and we just automatically associate that with Bugs Bunny tiptoeing really quickly, right? Or Wile E. Coyote going out over the cliff. He stands there in midair for a second, and he has this moment of realization of, I have no solid ground underneath me. All there is air. And then he holds up a sign, and then you have a slide whistle going, right? Again, it's the musical sounds that help to accentuate the comedy. And that is one of the things that makes Animaniacs worked in the 90s so well, is because they understood this. The composers, they understood, and it's not just like, hey, let's get some composers. These are 2-time Emmy Award winning composers on Animaniacs. And not just on Animaniacs, they've gone on to do a host of other projects as well. Here, let me bring this article up a little bit. Let's scroll down through. Some of their other credits include, yes, Tiny Toon Adventures, Tasmania, Pinky and the Brain, which, is closely related with Animaniacs, and Hysteria. Again, not to mention like all the other projects that they had been working on as well. So this is a creative team that they know what they're doing. I don't know why my web browser is being weird right now, but they know what they're doing. They've been doing it forever. They know how musical comedy works. And there's no downside to this, you guys. Hulu believes in it. Steven Spielberg believes in it. Disney believes in it. The filmmakers themselves are believing in it. The other executive producers believe in this. This can only be a good thing. But the question is for you guys, do you have a different thought on this? Do you have a different angle? Jump on down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you like this video, click like. If you really like this video, click subscribe. And if you really, really like this video, click share. Because that is exactly what Scrooge McDuck would want you to do. DuckTales, woo!